So great. So uh, I'm just setting context. We were just having a chat at the speakers lounge, and we're just discussing that we just keep it light and free flowing conversation so that it'll not get too heavy for the audience. So I'll just quickly go back to this entire bit where we're talking about how do we craft effective gaming strategies, right? I mean, that's something which is which a question which keeps looming in the minds of the advertisers and the brands alike, right? Now, I'll just quickly give you a background about the whole category as a whole. It's projected that in 2025, there are going to be close to about 700 million odd people in terms of gaming, both casual and professional gamers. While there are a lot of brands Prashant here, who's the senior director for HP. A lot of brands are very closer to the category and they understand what the audience is and what they would bring to the forefront. But from a personal experience, I was working on this brand which was nowhere closer to the category, but they still wanted to cater to a set of audiences which are inclined towards gaming as a habit, right? While we ventured into that for the first time, the whole experience of the outcome was that the whole objective was to ensure that there is enough and more reach and there's enough and more impact that has been created. And the outcome was really great, and we saw that shift in terms of the overall mentions for the brand per se, right? Now, this is something which was beyond the category, right? Now, I'll just come back to Prashant and ask him that because the audience that you cater to, right? I mean, it is very closer to the whole category, and they swear by it, right? Because you are in a place where your products and your experiences are somewhere very close and very personal to them. So when it comes to crafting effective strategies, and when it comes to understanding what are the things that you would want from an outcome perspective as well as from an input perspective, how do you go about doing that?
Yep. Sure, Kapil. So I think just staying with the audience for a bit more, you mentioned the huge number, a lot of people taking up gaming. A couple of things are really changing in the audience from our vantage point. One is really the rise of the lifestyle and the hardcore gamers, right? So gaming, as you would all appreciate, is a spectrum, right? So there are really, casual gamers who are starting their gaming journey on one end, and then there are people who are really, on the other end, who are a lot more hardcore. And within that, there are these two personas which we think of, where we are particularly seeing a big rise. There is the experience enhancers, right, within gaming, where we say people who are looking to enhance the experience while they are gaming now. And for the longest time, people did their gaming on non-gaming PCs, right? That was the norm in the country. Almost every PC we had was being used for gaming, but it was not meant for gaming. Yeah. And now we've seen this big change where almost 20% of the market is now buying gaming PCs. And there are people who are therefore looking to enhance their immersion in the game which they are playing. They want an overall better experience and performance while they play. And then there are, progressive creators who are a lot of people creating gaming content, right? And therefore they need, a true blue gaming PC to do that. So that's one big change, a lot more hardcore gamers. And while the big 700 million number is important because it gives scale to the sector, what is really important for gaming as a culture to become big is these elders of the community who stand for what gaming is about, right? I think the second big kind of trend is truly democratization. So I remember starting to work on the category 3.5 years back, and we struggled to find a diverse range of influencers because women felt that the entire ecosystem was so hostile. The online environments were not safe. and they felt unsafe while participating in those environments. And from there, we've, I think, come a long way where there's a significant participation of all groups, a lot more women, almost 30 to 35% of lifestyle gamers are now women. And then there is true democratization happening with tier 3, tier 4 representation coming onto gaming, right? So that's, I think, a second big change. And then thirdly, of course, you all are seeing around yourself, there is a lot more supply of gaming content. There's a lot of demand for gaming content, right? So, and that is kind of, translating into participation in events. It's translating into consumption of content. You see millions of hours of gaming content being consumed on any video platform and so on. Yeah. Now, given all this, slightly long answer, but I just wanted that context to be clear before I came to the strategy. I think when you now come from this audience insight to a brand strategy, it's important for any brand which wants to participate in gaming to give therefore the right signal to the elders in the community, right? And so let me bring it alive with an example. We have essentially three gaming brands. There's Omen, which is a PC gaming brand. There's Victus, and then there's HyperX, which is about accessories, peripherals, your headsets, microphones, the right mouse for gaming, and so on. Now, we therefore have to signal to this gamer that, hey, I know you, I understand you, right? And therefore, first, I still believe, while communication and the spray and pray got a bit shafted in the last talk, but it's still very important, right, for you to signal through communication to this gamer that I stand for you, I understand you, right? So a lot of our communication therefore talks about problems which gamers face today, which is cooling, lags, bad experiences, shutdowns, and so on when they are playing AAA games. And then there is, partnerships. So, for example, we've recently announced a global partnership with Riot Games. And Riot, for those of you who are familiar with the ecosystem, would know they are the owners of the biggest gaming titles in the world: Valorant, League of Legends. All these are titles which are owned by Riot. And therefore, that signaling that, hey, I'm designed with you in mind because I'm designed for the game is very important, right? And then there are bits I'll, try to close in another minute. This signaling that, you can participate and you can belong. That's extremely important for the gamer. And therefore, brand-led communities are extremely important. So we created something called the Omen, YouTube channel, crossed 1 million subscribers actually last week, and where we put out a lot of content led by Indian influencers on tips and tricks to game, progressing on your gaming journey, moving from being the so-called noob to being a pro, and so on. So I think that enabling again a brand safe and an audience safe community is a second part of the strategy, right? And then there is, of course, demand-less strategies, commerce-less strategies, which I'll probably not get into a lot, but the third big one for us has been actually giving safe physical spaces, right? Because this is one community which has really come back to physical spaces after COVID. And so we started opening something called the Omen Playground, OPG stores, and across, of course, there are ones in Mumbai, Nehru Place, but then we have OPGs in Bhubaneswar, right, in Cuttack and so on, where you can just walk into a retail store and you can play. You can participate in an event, you can find like-minded people and so on. And those are, I think, important things for, as part of a brand strategy to involve an audience, yeah.
Great, thanks. So you spoke about the creators, you spoke about the entire community, you spoke about the kind of content which is generated on a regular basis, right? That really works for you because, like I said earlier also, it's a very captive audience that you have. So I'll just come to Chandrashekhar, and maybe ask you this question, right? While there are a lot of brands which are digital first, and also a lot of brands which are also venturing and exploring digital as an ecosystem. And of course, gaming is an inherent part of it. Are there any specific challenges which you foresee when you go to marketers or brands which are, while typically in the non-category aspect, when you're especially talking about gaming and the entire ecosystem and what would it bring, as a value add to them, right? Are there any specific challenges which you would want to highlight and maybe, touch base on, because we also want to look at the larger acceptance because we know that there is an enough and more audience which is there, but how do we tackle that?
Right. Good evening, everyone. So, we do face a lot of challenges in terms of, uh, you need to paint the right picture, and that picture needs to be matching with the marketing objective of that particular advertiser. How do I, as a brand, want to be seen? How do I want to be perceived amongst the audience? That is very important. A lot of things can be done. I think I can give you one example is OEM marketing is big right now in India. So we all remember, like when we started using cell phones, we used to have few games inbuilt. Now, I don't think phones come with the games inbuilt, but OEM marketing gives you that option. There is something called as pre-installed apps. So let's say I, as a brand, has come up with a fantasy game or any kind of a mobile game, and I would want that to be pre-installed into the OEM market space, which covers almost 70% of Indian smartphone makers. So whether that is your Xiaomi's, your Vivos, Oppos, all these brands, in fact Samsung for that matter. So that could be one of the strategy. That could be one place where I would want my user to be have a seamless experience where he buys a new phone and that app is pre-installed in the device, and he can always just click on the app and that app will get installed and start playing over there. That could be one thing. So these kind of things we have to convince the brand. We have to paint that kind of a picture where they need to understand, okay, this is one place, where this is one way of capturing the audience. This is how we can do it. I'll tell you one more example. Recently, I was talking to one of the leading RMG or real money gaming players, CMO, and he told me a very surprising fact that Rummy is pretty big in India. Rummy is no longer adding new players. So that is one of the concerns for him, and that, he wanted us to solve that concern. Luckily, we have certain digital capabilities where we can actually create an engagement with the users in such a way that these these brands we can actually take to the users and literally teach the user to start playing. It is a step-by-step process, and it will take us, what, 2 weeks time for a new user to acquire and make him get used to the gaming format. A lot of people nowadays are learning games like poker. Poker has the highest growth in India this year. I mean, we never expected it. To be very honest, I used to speak to hardly couple of poker advertisers 2 years back. Now I probably speak with more than 20. So big brands are coming in, big international brands are coming in India. So, I mean, the whole idea is to reduce the gap between the picture painted by the brand and the picture painted by us. And this is how the seamless marketing strategy, which is our topic for today, this can be achieved, where we could showcase that particular brand, that particular, let's say, game to the users in a way that it becomes a very immersive experience for them. And it can be achieved by means of different channels. And the strategy mainly revolves around the channel for this matter. Yep.
Great. So also, as an agency, right, we speak to a lot of clients across categories, and there's you clearly called out how do we bridge that gap, right? Now, from an outcome standpoint, right? I mean, every money that you put, the next question comes to us saying that what's the sort of an outcome that we're looking at, and because gaming as as a category and as a habit of a consumer, there's a lot of time retention and the time that is spent on a particular game, right? Now, I'll come to Prasad, and I just wanted to, know your point of view on the fact that because you've been a part of the ecosystem and you've, developed games yourself. Uh, so while retention is there, right? I mean, from an output perspective, when a marketeer comes and says that, okay, I understand there's a consumer retention there, but if I want to also do the final attribution of, say, anything beyond, retention, uh, what are the possible ways for me to, maybe uh, answer that as a question? Because I understand that there would be time spent because for whatever reason, maybe because of the interest of the consumer to a particular game. But is my retention leading into an outcome?
Yeah. Um, Hello everyone, good evening. So I will start with a bit of context to the question first. We all understand as users that to play is human nature. We all love playing games, we all love engaging into games. Game is a transactional medium. Okay, it's a transactional in a way that there is always happening. It's an active entertainment in a way. So when brands or even when we think about developing games or building strategies for brands or marketers through games, the first question that we ask is the authenticity of it. We always try to understand who is the core user of that particular product, particular brand that the marketer is trying to address, target. So authenticity is the primary question that we aim to achieve through it. Second is having a holistic approach to the problem that we are trying to solve. Okay, so the question, like, how do we increase transaction through games, or how do we increase the commerce through games? There is no right way to do it. There is no rocket science to do it. It's all experience based on how can you create new experience for these users. You might have come across AR, VRs, the new technologies that you can adopt. So we always try to build new experiences around or through games that has that novelty factor that leads to the transaction and curiosity among the users, which eventually leads to increase in the transaction. We also keep exploring newer platforms. For example, the Gen Zs and and few millennials or even Gen Alpha is quite obsessed about two games, which is Roblox and Minecraft, which is again a UGC platform, user-generated content platforms, wherein you can create experiences inside of the game, which can have a transactional output outs in the real world as well. So we try to build experiences where users are already spending time on this platform. So by having the presence of a brand inside of these ecosystems, inside of this metaverse kind of a environment, it leads to a brand recall, it leads to awareness among the users, which eventually leads to the transactions in the real world. So that is how we look at it. It might not lead to a direct transaction or direct conversion, but all things in a holistic manner eventually leads to the transaction.
So Chandrashekhar, I just want to throw this question to you also when it comes to, because you also interact with a lot of brands. So when it comes to the attributions bit, right? When we just heard about the whole time, deep engagement and the time spent, but I'm sure a lot of brands would also be asking you about what is the final outcome. While I understand there is engagement, but from an attribution perspective, how do I measure the final mile?
Right. So this is where the media mix comes in place. We all understand there are, I'll come back to the point I was making during the first question. So it again dials down to the inventories and the mediums. We always make a media mix based on quantitative and qualitative mediums. Obviously, every brand would want to have ROI on whatever campaigns they are running. and that ROI can be measured, or that ROI can be maintained rather, when you I mean, you try to source the right set of traffic, the right set of user, the high intent user, as he was saying, that when you know the right TG, nowadays you can do targeting based on apography. So it becomes a lot easier to target somebody who is already in that particular space, and we can always target them, and we can just give them an alternative. Let's say he's playing XYZ kind of a game, no, XYZ brand in a particular category of a game. We can give him ABC, this, just a different brand which can give him a better UI, and which can give him more pleasure in terms of gaming. So that can be achieved. We can always try to, recently Google has allowed a lot of RMG on the Play Store, especially when it comes to game of skill like Rummy and Fantasy. So we can do a lot of things around that with such qualitative inventories such as Google, or now you can even run your campaigns on Facebook, because Meta will allow you to have a whitelisted account. So once you start acquiring users by means of qualitative inventory, the ROI is always going to be there. I have always seen every campaign succeed when the balance is right between the qualitative and quantitative. So wouldn't be a very big issue when I, as an agency, see, because we all know, like, a lot of gaming brands have burnt their hand when the wave started back in 2019, 20, or 18, 19 rather, where a lot of run by night kind of publishers or networks, they were doing a lot of manual frauds or bot frauds, and a lot of gaming companies have burnt their fingers. Luckily, it is no longer happening. Luckily, there are a lot of fraud detection tools. Luckily, in terms of there is CTIT rule which is there. So things have evolved greatly, and everybody understands that now. All the gaming companies who want to market their product, they are no longer only looking for awareness kind of a thing. They are looking for further down the funnel, which is kind of a consideration kind of a metrics. So if you design the campaign in a right manner with the right media mix, I think the ROI is always going to be there.
Thanks. So Prashant, I'll just ask you this question, right? I mean, while you have you've built community, you have those sort of content creators and which you engage with them on a regular basis. So that entire journey from community to commerce, right? I mean, there has to be certain guardrails which you will also be putting, right? I mean, while content creation is one bit, and there is a decent brand recall that you have. So how would you maybe through any of your strategies figure this entire community to commerce sort of a journey that will actually, give you a certain sense of direction as to what is working and what is not?
Yeah. See, the answer to that question is honestly not figured fully as yet, right? Particularly on community as a brand intervention, we do not have a clear answer. Yeah. See, and let's look at what are the conventional answers today available to you. The conventional answer, which is also honestly quite recent, is to actually do a multi-touch attribution model, right? And the MTA telling you that here are the 6 different interventions which the brand did. Now the model tells you that this is the success can be attributed more to action A versus to action B, right? Communities, particularly when they are not built on owned platforms, become extremely difficult to attribute any kind of business to or revenue to. Also, the problem with communities is that I wouldn't call it a problem, but the thing with the character of communities is that they are by nature longer gestation, right? We've been running the Omen community for 3 years. We see, some few million hours of content consumed. And I told you, 1 million subscribers and all. do I have a very clear ROI model to say that, hey, this is delivering X ROI? I don't know. However, there is definitely a belief that I cannot build an expert gaming brand like Omen by using the 50-year-old TV plus trade kind of a model, right? So, what is not the answer? I'm very clear. Is this the answer? Has it been tested, proven? Uh, it is not. We don't see a reason or like a way to do it deterministically today. There is some hope, however. Google is coming up with clean rooms very soon, where you will be able to put data and then figure some deterministic impact of your effort. If you look back at communities which were actually created in the, let's say, in the early .com era, I mean, look at babycenter.com, right? Johnson & Johnson created a wonderful community. And is there enough evidence to say that it's worked? Absolutely yes, right? Is there enough evidence to say that communities created on external platforms like Facebook and YouTube, have they worked in the last 2, 3 years? I would say there's not enough evidence as yet. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. I think, that encapsulates the overall, thought in terms of how we put this effective gaming strategies together, because, it's a constant battle for, agencies to maybe you bring brands up to this place, specifically non-category, right? Because that's something which is very important for us. While there is a captive audience, we see those numbers, we see that deep engagement, we see that retention happening. Uh, and this is quite a exciting space, because I see a lot of, like you spoke about the community aspect, right? A lot of content getting generated, a lot of streamers coming up, and there's a lot of in-content advertising happening, and it is also yielding that desired result. So yeah, I think all in all, I think if you guys have anything else to say before we wind
Yeah,
up.
in fact, as he was saying that these communities getting created. So Lumikai has published a report a few months back, and it was a gaming report. So the number one reason for people to start gaming is, of course, to unwind, to get away from their routine life. The second one is to socialize, which is very important. So a lot of people have started playing games irrespective of whatever game they have started, but online streaming games, they start because they want to make new friends, they want to socialize, they want to be part of a certain groups. You can see a lot of groups being made, not and I'm telling you because it has not started just now. It's that we are speaking it right now, but it has started a long time back when there used to be a LAN connection when the broadband came, when people used to play Age of Empires and things like Counter-Strike or Defense of the Ancients, these kind of games. And now you will see people have big Telegram groups for BGMIs or PUBG as earlier it used to be called. You have communities for poker. People are like poker buddies nowadays. A lot of celebrities are endorsing it. So, I mean, this is very important thing. It is kind of a weaving a social fabric in India where people are making new friends with common interests. So yeah, I mean, definitely it is adding up to a different kind of a dimension to our social statistics.
Great. I think, thank you guys. Thank you so much for your time.